Hi, I'm Barney, and this is my Ubox. Actually, we had two of them. I'm going to do a review of the Uhaul Ubox. It's on a trailer. The concept is pretty good. One thing that they don't really bring to your attention is that these boxes are made pretty flimsily out of wood. They're not sturdy containers at all. And one of the two boxes that we got from Uhaul, they destroyed. And in the process of destroying one of the boxes, they destroyed everything in it. And then the utter nightmare that they have unleashed upon me since they destroyed my stuff. If you ever consider using Uhaul U-boxes, I hope you take the time to listen to this story about my experience using the Uhaul U-boxes. They're expensive. It's much cheaper to rent a truck and do it yourself. You can fit a lot more in a truck than you can in one of these boxes. And there appears to be some serious water concerns with these boxes. We had one box that was completely destroyed, and obviously loads of water got inside. But the other box was not completely destroyed, and we still had water issues. There were still plenty of things that were moldy, mildewy, and suffered plenty of water damage. The nightmare starts when, after they pick up the U-boxes, they give us a phone call about a week or so before the boxes are supposed to be delivered. And they let us know that one of the boxes had been severely damaged, and we had to go meet with the adjuster and get everything looked at. And we made an appointment to meet with the adjuster, two movers, and a manager from Uhaul. We get there, and of course the adjuster is not there, but the manager from Uhaul is. And he has some paperwork that is adjuster-type paperwork, and he followed the instructions along with me. We both read the instructions and followed them. And he did the best that he could, but he wasn't the adjuster. So he couldn't answer a lot of questions. He was the guy that works at Uhaul. He's the manager of the location. And he had never done anything like this before, so he did his best. He was doing the best he could. But there was a few things that went wrong with that transaction. One, we get there and the adjuster's not there. We were told the adjuster was going to be there. Two, the box is inside a warehouse, and and there's one light bulb that's very far away from where the box is, and we're supposed to be observing what's damaged, what's not damaged, documenting it, taking pictures, but we have one light bulb that's pretty far away, and that's the only source of light we have to try and go through everything in the middle of this warehouse. They also would not let me look at the other box. We knew that one box had been severely damaged. We took pictures of it, completely blown out on all sides, and everything inside of it was dramatically damaged. There was actually a pile of stuff next to the box that had fallen out at some point in time, and we documented that. And when we went through the paperwork, there was 3 different descriptions. You had undamaged stuff, which you didn't need to document. You had stuff that was damaged, but you were going to keep, and you would document. And then you had stuff that was damaged and a total loss, and you were going to throw away, which we did. And there was a big pile of stuff that was thrown in the garbage per the instructions. It was documented, but it was thrown in the garbage. And then immediately following this appointment, the following weekday, which would be that Monday, I get an email from an adjuster, and that adjuster says in their email, do not throw anything away. Make sure you save everything until the claim is settled. But per their own instructions, we've already had thrown out a ton of stuff. And it's interesting because it's not like they should be on a different page. The insurance company we're dealing with is owned by Uhaul, just like Ubox is owned by Uhaul. This is Uhaul Ubox. It's a division within Uhaul. And the insurance that we were dealing with is also, Rep West was also a division of Uhaul. So they're all owned by the same company. They didn't give me any copies of anything. I'm expecting copies of everything. I got copies of nothing. The only thing I got was a single sheet of paper that had a few sentences on it that indicated what an incident number, and also a phone number I should contact if I had any questions, comments, concerns. Contact this phone number. So of course, contact that phone number. When I get the email that says don't throw anything away, I call them up to let them know, well, we've already thrown out a bunch of stuff. And that phone number was to roadside assistance. And roadside assistants had no idea what to do about anything. They thought it was quite amusing that they even gave me their phone number. And the incident number I never used the incident number for anything. So the information they gave me at the scene or when I first learned about the damage was all worthless, useless, and based in some other reality other than the one where we had adjusters and claim numbers and phone numbers to insurance companies. All those things that we come to find out later were important, and the information I was provided at the time was not only unimportant, but actually wrong and misleading. The insurance company starts off with, there is no insurance because we refused insurance, which was not true. That's not the case at all. And we placed the order on the phone for the Ubox. So they pull the phone calls and they listen to the order being placed. And the rep never even mentioned insurance. Never mind. We didn't get an opportunity to refuse it. She never offered it. She never explained it. And we were under the impression that we had the maximum insurance when we placed the order and when we used these boxes from Uhaul. But they immediately say, no, there is no insurance. There's going to be a maximum $1,000 coverage, and you can use that as to meet the deductible on your homeowner's insurance. But we couldn't figure out why they wanted to use our insurance because it was clearly their responsibility. It was their gross negligence that resulted in one of these boxes being severely damaged. Now, like these boxes, like I say, they're not very well built. But they do go inside another box. They don't tell you that, but they do go inside another box. Like this is just it's not very thick plywood. This is the whole wall. It's a 2x4 that's just at the corner, but you can see the plywood is thin plywood, and it's a relatively small box, and you can't fit as much in there as you might think. And you're not exactly sure what size it's going to be. They vary a little bit in size when you order them. They tell you that it could be a little bit taller, it could be a little bit shorter. They give you a rough size. So we place the order, they investigate it, and they admit that they made a mistake about the insurance, but they won't acknowledge the fact that they need to be covering the loss. When they do, but they're sending out adjusters and doing all these other things. I've spent more than 24 hours, literal hard labor, loading and unloading, packing, repacking, loading boxes, reloading boxes, all as a result of their gross negligence. And then they keep giving me lists of things that I need to do because of their gross negligence. Not only did I have to put in those 20 plus hours of hard labor that was unnecessary, but there's, they're not being forthright and they're not taking responsibility. The box was clearly damaged, completely open, and it was soaking wet inside. There was loads of stuff that was wet. So I asked quite plainly, how long was it outside and exposed to the elements? They said, oh no, it was never outside and exposed to the elements. Okay, well, what happened? We have no idea what happened. It's been more than 2 weeks, still have no idea what happened to these boxes. Apparently, these boxes are supposed to be under surveillance the entire time they're in possession of them. Every time they get off a truck or on a truck, it's supposed to be video recorded. The entire time they're in storage, video recorded. But for some miracle, something happened some way in which it was not recorded and one of the boxes was completely destroyed. So much for the surveillance. And if you don't know what happened or when it happened or how it happened or where it happened, how do you know that it was never outside? The only thing I know is that all this stuff is soaking wet. And I mean literally hundreds of pounds of fabric is soaking wet. But for some reason, it's not covered by insurance. Fabric isn't covered by insurance. So they won't take pictures of it. They won't document it. They won't weigh it. They won't do anything. I can go take it somewhere, have it cleaned. And if the cleaners determine that it's a loss or whatever, then they may reimburse me some of the cleaning costs. So that doesn't feel like they're accepting responsibility for their actions. If they had said, here, take it to these cleaners, we're picking up the bill, well, that might be one thing. Or if they sent the cleaners out here to pick up all the stuff, that might be one thing. But no, they're giving me a list of things I can do. We took video of tablet computers, like we had an iPad, we had a Microsoft Surface Pro, and the screens were all glitching and freaking out because they had been crushed. And one of them literally has visible damage where it was expanded and crushed. The casing that had broken. It was bulging out the side. And they said, oh no, electronics need to be, you need to bring the electronics to an expert that can test them and determine whether or not it should be replaced or repaired. And I'm sure that these experts are not free, but so again, I would have to come out of pocket in order to demonstrate the damage that they caused. So it's just been very discouraging. Things that they also talk about how they're not going to replace anything, but they will. So like for an example, I have a TV that has a scratch on it, a scratch on the screen. Now the screen and the display is kind of the main part of the TV. Yes, you can turn the TV on, but there's a scratch on it. They said, well, we're going to give you a scratch allowance. See, another thing with a piece of furniture was a small piece of furniture that had been beat up. It was supposed to be a red shelf, and it just had chunks out of it. It was totally beat up, and it had all this white paint showing, like the underpaint or whatever was showing. So they're saying, well, you can paint that. I said, well, I can paint that, but I wouldn't need to paint it if you didn't destroy it. And we haven't even submitted it. It's been 2 weeks, and they still have yet to even submit the claim yet. Where I was anticipating that they were going to settle this relatively quickly. Here we are 2 weeks later, and we still don't know whose insurance is covering what, how they're going to cover it, how it's going to be settled. No idea. But they keep giving me things that I can do. They keep giving me work to do. It's as though they, I don't want to use the term slave labor, but it's that they cause me harm and they cause me damage. Therefore, in order for me to recoup my losses, I have to go jump through all of their hoops, which just gives me work to do and money I have to spend as a result of their actions. So, use a lot of caution if you ever consider using Ubox, or, I've had other experiences with Uhaul that have gone well, but this is the only time I've used these Ubox things that's available at these phone numbers or whatever. I really would advise strongly against even considering the possibility of using these things. Even in the box that wasn't completely destroyed, there was still loads of mold and mildew. And somehow they destroy one box. We're claiming, because with the other box there was loads of stuff that was broken, all kinds of things that were inside were smashed up and crushed. But they're saying there's they didn't do anything to the second box. So somehow they don't know what happened, but they know that they only damaged one box. And when we went to go observe the first box when it was damaged, they wouldn't allow us to look at the second box. I asked repeatedly to look at the second box, and they wouldn't let me. So all of these mistakes and errors, they keep costing me time, keep costing me money, and they continue to continue to do what seems like everything they can to avoid accepting responsibility for the real harm and damage that they've caused. So weeks later, I'm still without a majority of my possessions, piles of furniture, loads of clothing and fabric and sheets and towels all got wet and moldy and gross, and they need to be, and we tried washing some of them, and there's, for some reason, they're saying that fabric isn't covered, which really blows my mind considering how many hundreds of pounds of fabric have been destroyed. We have 3 44-gallon garbage bags full of pillows, blankets, all just completely destroyed. And they don't even want to document it. Like, we're sitting here, I take the time to meet with the adjuster, and they don't even want to take the time to document it. You're far better off getting a truck, and if you're going to get a truck, you're better off getting it from Penske or one of these other companies. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll do my best to answer your questions about the nightmare I'm experiencing with Uhaul. Hopefully there will be a settlement in the near future, but even if their settlement is acceptable, it's taken, in my opinion, it's taken far too long and required too much work on my part in order to settle this matter. I mean, I didn't do anything, right? I didn't cause any of these problems. I don't understand, and it's frustrating when I have to take, whole days in order to meet their needs as a result of the damage and the harm that they've caused me. So I appreciate everybody for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions or comments about the Uhaul Ubox, please leave them below and I'll do my best to answer them. But if you want my advice after this nightmare, don't use them. Happy holidays.